Dan, thank you for being on the call with us and reviewing some of the services that we've offered you. Before we start, actually, how long have you been a customer of Vivant?
You'd have to tell me. It feels like it's been a long time. If I had to guess, I would say 5 years.
That's right. Yeah, you've actually been on right around that 5 year mark. Before we start, can you tell me how many stores you have, what kind of business are you in, and what do you do?
Sure. So I'm a Jimmy John's franchisee in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and our territory is the Upper Peninsula in its entirety. So we have all the stores that exist here, which is five right now.
Okay, awesome. And before you switch to us, you're a very tech savvy guy. What did your week look like before switching to Vivant?
I wouldn't say that the weeks looked much different, other than there was always this kind of unknown. We use Spectrum Charter, for our internet service here, and I would say that we just have always had a little bit of unreliability just because of the remoteness of the area that we live in. We're at the top of Michigan. We're basically Canada. People don't even know where the UP is when you tell them, that kind of thing. We're out here. Uh, so the service isn't always that reliable. We don't have a lot of fiber. There is some, but it's not everywhere, like in some bigger cities. So there's some unreliability. Um, you know, as you know, when the internet goes down in a restaurant that uses credit cards or anything to process over the web to the cloud, it's total shutdown. And so if we had an issue, we'd be basically at a standstill, and we'd be running for this crash kit that Jimmy John's provides that has handwritten prices and all the stuff you need to kind of manually take the order. But then once the internet came back, you'd have to go and manually enter all those credit cards back in like a transaction. It just took forever and prone to error, all kinds of stuff. Just wasn't very fun to deal with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm curious, like a little bit more on business impact, especially now. So 5 years ago, we were just kind of at the early onset of the pandemic, and there was a major shift that now a lot of orders are online. So at Jimmy John's convention, they were saying about 60% of those revenues are online. How did that have any impact? How did that impact the
Oh yeah.
business?
So our online ordering would obviously drop if the internet dropped, and we wouldn't be able to take those orders through those channels. Well, it would just be walk-in or people calling on the phone. But that's, like you said, that's kind of going away at this point. Um, and it would just be a standstill. We couldn't do anything without the internet if that was going on, and we couldn't even enter a sale into the point of sale. It wouldn't communicate. Wouldn't allow anything to happen.
Okay, so like a total shutdown of the
Pretty
restaurant,
much a total
online
shutdown.
orders goes down, phones are down, internet obviously is down, credit
Yeah.
cards are down, loyalty is down because you can't do that.
Right.
Employees can't clock in, clock out, everything's dead in the water.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Now, what made you decide to change, and specifically, what made you give us a shot?
It's been a long time, and I think I talked to probably one of your sales guys early on, but I don't remember how the introduction was even made. It's been that long. I really don't remember, but I remember always kind of thinking about wanting to have some internet backup in the stores. That was a thing that I knew we could do, and I thought I could do. At the time, I went to AT&T and T and I got a little backup um, modem, cellular modem with an Ethernet jack in it that I thought I could bridge into the router or the Sophos, wherever they had in the network cabinet at the time for Jimmy John's. It turned out that was a lot more clunkier than it seemed like on its surface. It was not simple. The modem wasn't bridged properly, so it was not giving out the right IP address to the router, and it wouldn't work. Half the time. I think I got it to work one time, and then when I did the cell service that it had was terrible. We had unlimited data on it, but it just kind of I don't know if it was too much or if they were throttling us. I really don't know, but it basically didn't work.
Yeah.
It's a paperweight.
And you're a pretty tech savvy guy. You're sitting down, you've got a whole bunch of computers and hard drives and like
Yeah, I'm a,
servers,
I'm
and
a
you build
CCNA
this stuff.
certified network engineer. Like
Yeah.
I should have been able to solve that. And anyway, it was too much of a headache. And obviously, we're trying to do a million other things at the same time. And if the internet's down, there's a general panic in the area. So I'm putting out fires and trying to calm people down and hey, here's what we do. Somebody may not have ever experienced an internet outage and they need training on the crash kit kind of thing. So it's just the chaos, not necessary. We don't need to be doing that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's totally true. So, kind of fast forwarding, in the last 5 or so years, what problems have you had with Vivant?
Let's see. I think that I don't think that we've had any issues that were caused by Vivant. We've had like wiring issues that have appeared, like the wires just kind of fell out of the punch downs kind of thing. So, phone line dropped and we thought, maybe there's an issue, but we call tech support, which is super easy, by the way. And the folks there looked into it and said everything was good on the ATA. Okay, then that kind of points us in the direction of the physical cabling. And I went and looked, and of course, there's one of the wires just kind of barely in there, and punched it right down, and away it goes. So,
Awesome. Any internet outages in the last 5 years?
not that I can think of, unless we had like a total power outage. I don't think we've had an internet outage. I really don't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I
now
can't think of
internet.
one time where we lost both internet and cell. Don't think it's ever happened.
Okay, perfect. Now, so today,
Maybe, you probably have a log, right?
we keep it logged. So there has been a lot of outages, but the point is you haven't felt the impact of those
Right.
outages. Is
Not at
that
all.
correct? Okay,
Right.
awesome. So like I want to get into that side of things. How has life changed and how has the operation, the profitability changed after switching?
I don't even think about my internet connection anymore. I really don't. It's kind of back of mind. I know you guys are handling it. It's just one less thing I've got to deal with every day. It's great, and with multiple locations, that turns into a big pain real quick. If you got to go run 3 hours across the state to another store because their internet's down or whatever, and they don't know how to fix it. So you run into a lot of situations where maybe the manager's not as tech savvy as somebody else, and they're looking at that box and it's just all foreign to them. They don't have any idea what to do with it, and you can tell them, hey, power it down, and even that might be too complicated for some people. To the point of where if I'm building a network rack for somebody, I will literally put a 1U bank of switches with all their devices and label them all. So modem, okay,
Yeah,
all the stuff. Switch. You want to reboot any of it? It's just a switch right there.
yeah, exactly.
Kind of
Just flip
idiot-proof
it
some of
on
this
and
stuff.
off. Yeah. Now, you mentioned something about support. I'm curious, like you've had to contact support, I'm sure, for some reasons. How has your experience been with our support team?
Really good. They always answer right away. I haven't called in a while. I don't think you're using any kind of answering service even initially, right? It's like you call and the tech picks up, I think. But I haven't called in a while, which is a testament to your product, right? But if the team needs to call, it's usually like a phone issue, like maybe there's some static on the line or something like that. And if they get a tech right away, the tech can look at everything from their side, which is awesome. Immediately identify if there's any issue, and sometimes just fix it right there. It's great, like super easy, super clean.
Awesome.
We don't
And
have a
I,
lot of
well, that's the point. Like we just don't want you to have issues.
yeah.
Therefore, you shouldn't have to call us. So, one of our other customers said the best companies are the ones that you never talk to because their
Yeah.
products and services works, and you just don't have to. You don't have to call them
Right.
because
Yeah,
things
this
don't
is the
go wrong.
vendor. I mean, you're the vendor I would love to talk to more because you're an interesting guy, and we have a lot in common. And but you're right. Like I don't need to call you. I had to call 5 other vendors yesterday, and I was really mad. Like dealing with them. They are supposed to be serving me, and here I am basically telling them what their job was yesterday in several cases. It's just I was so frustrated having to deal with these vendors yesterday. And these are big vendors that should know better. You guys are just a little. I mean, not small, but you know what I mean. You're a smaller vendor, and you guys rock it. You kill it. You
Absolutely.
position for growth.
Yeah, and well, that's part of the mindset. Like obviously we're both business entrepreneurs, we're business owners, and like that's what I would expect out of another company that I do business with is you promised, I paid you, you deliver, and then we're all happy. And
Yep.
when the expectations don't align, then problems happen. But we set the expectation up front that listen, these are our own restaurants, we own them, and you are serving our own company, and
Yep.
that's the mentality we take forward with all the customers. So I'm glad
Yep.
that it's actually showing in the day-to-day support with everybody.
Yep.
And then you previously had multiple vendors involved. You had telecom side, you had the POS companies, you had like a backup, all these different providers. Now you're consolidated into a single provider. Has that helped? Has that
Yeah.
improved your peace of mind, your day-to-day life, your operation for your staff? I'm curious to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it has. So before Vivant, we had AT&T for phone lines. We had Spectrum for internet. These were our own individual accounts at each store. So imagine 5 stores, 15 accounts basically between phones, internet, and PCI compliance, which you guys also take care of for us. Sorry, and the PCI compliance was always a big pain. As you know, you have to do those attestation things quarterly, and um, they got to scan the network and all that stuff. And as a restaurant operator, day to day, like it's hard to build that time in to get those things done. And the penalty from the credit card company wasn't massive, but it adds up, and it does turn into a lot of money over the course of a year for not doing those things. So our previous PCI compliance company didn't offer anything like that, or if they did, it was going to cost X amount more just for them to do those attestations. Um, but with you guys, it's super straightforward, simple. Um, we don't have to touch it again. You guys are handling all of that. It's wonderful. And the phone side, if there's an issue there, you guys fix it, and you're monitoring that stuff. AT&T would go down. Nobody's monitoring that. We got to call, and then they got to send a guy, and all this stuff. And the internet, same kind of deal. They couldn't check a whole lot from remote. They can just check the modem, but then they would send a cable tech down or whatever to troubleshoot the internet connection when we really didn't need that. Um, so it's just simplified everything. The team's not thinking about it, which is what I like. I'm not hardly thinking about it. I get the bill every month. I'm like, oh yeah, Vivant, there they are again. You guys kind of exist in the background, and you do such a good job that nobody has to worry about something going wrong.
Amazing. If you had to put a number on these downtimes and the headaches, problems before switching, what would you say that would be? Time-wise,
Yeah,
financially, and time, peace of mind, staff, overall.
yeah. It'd be hard to measure, honestly. If we had an outage every other week or once a month, I mean, I would put that in the thousands of dollars, as a cost, just for a couple hours down, and especially if it affected multiple locations at once. If Spectrum had a major pipeline outage, which they have had, we've had multiple stores lose the internet at the same time. That's even a bigger impact, right? So it just kind of snowballs. If things aren't working, it's not good.
And also in the restaurant, I always preach that out that it's unrecoverable revenue. If your
Yeah,
internet's down, I'm trying to place an order online, or if I'm calling and I can't get a hold of the store, I don't just wait until your
right.
internet comes back online, or
Going somewhere
I
else.
don't. Yeah, you immediately go somewhere else, so you can't recover that revenue. Once the revenue's gone, it's totally gone.
Right. And you might have burned the bridge on the customer if they were frustrated enough by the experience to not come back for a little while.
Exactly, yeah, because it's like, hey, it's so unreliable, I don't want to deal with it,
Right.
and they build habits somewhere else, and maybe the other vendor or the other restaurant will make it easier for them and just kind of keep them for. Obviously, every time every restaurant is focused on these retention models, and the more you retain the customer, the more money obviously you make out of that individual customer and lifetime value. And there's so many things around that side of things. If a business owner was in the same situation that you were previously, same number of locations, same headaches, same problems, and they're contemplating on what to do, what would you recommend?
I would recommend that they talk to you or one of your team, obviously. But I think that your product is a no-brainer. I mean, what you do as a service company is a no-brainer. This is not something that we as restaurant operators should be even dealing with. I think it's just one less thing to do, and the cost all bundled together, like it's not much. It really isn't when you add all those other services together. phone, internet, PCI compliance with the attestations, all that kind of stuff. I think we're saving money. I mean, I know we're saving money, but you know what I mean. Um, it doesn't feel like a spend. It doesn't feel like something I don't need. It feels like it's part of the infrastructure of the whole operation. It feels like it just needs to be here.
Absolutely. So you had some hard cost savings, and then obviously the outages that are prevented,
Yeah,
no more loss of revenue,
right. I mean,
no
if I
staff,
had to,
nothing on
if I just
fire.
had to throw a number out there, I probably would say that 5 to 10 grand a year per store is what we have avoided losing by having Vivant installed. It's got to
That's
be at least
incredible.
that. You know, our stores, our 5 stores do about 7 million a year. So there's a lot of business, and if we're losing an hour here, hour there, I mean that's significant, and it would add up quick. Plus, you're paying the labor of all the employees at the same time. Well, you're not getting any money coming in the door. I mean, it really does cost a lot to be down.
Yeah, because labor challenge is obviously a big part of restaurant operation nowadays. You got food costs, you got labor costs. Those are the two biggest ones. And if they're just standing around doing nothing instead of making subs, well, that seems to be a big problem.
It's expensive, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, is there anything else that you want to share about your experience with us?
Just that I was able to, I might be a tech guy, but I was able to self-install your stuff
Hmm.
on my own, and I thought it was very straightforward and easy to do. Kit was complete with instructions, nice kind of to-do list and all that stuff. I think most people could self-install this stuff if they really put their mind to it, which is just, another compliment to how you guys have designed the system and all that. Um, and your tech guys, like when I was self-installing, did have a couple questions, and I called and talked to Sam and a couple of people around there, and they were all great and very patient with me, and it was just a great experience. Like everybody seemed to want to support me, and that was felt really nice for a change, rather than me calling and asking for help and like, oh, okay, we can, you know you guys were more forward with it, like, hey, if you got any issues, let's solve it. We'll get on a call. We'll do this, and I got Sam's cell phone number, and we're just talking, and he's like, all right, check this, check that. Okay, good, and super easy. It's great.
That's amazing. And I think you're probably one of the maybe like two or three customers in the last 5 years who actually installed themselves.
Oh, sure.
But you're right. I mean, it's not
I
that
think more people should
complicated.
do. Yeah,
Yeah, we try to cookie cutter everything and just everything's program provisions in the office. By the time it ships it aside, it's just almost plug and play. You just got to figure out where to plug which one in and and obviously colored cables. So they're all colored, so you know which color goes where. But to your point, yeah, the obviously we want to try to save as much money for you guys as well. And then by doing that self install, obviously take advantage of the cost savings, and then it goes both ways. And I'm glad that the team was able to help with whatever questions came about for the DIY. So that's great to hear.
yeah. I guess the trickiest part for a lot of people might be the phone line aspect. If they have to mess with the 66 block or anything like that, punch down wires, like that gets a little trickier. I have experience doing that a lot, so that part was no big deal. But um, you know, some of my stores I ended up wiring after I did the first few. I changed my how I wired them, so now the phone lines are just RJ11 jacks that you could plug right into the ATA instead of having to go rewire anything in the seal.
Yeah, that makes it easier as well. So awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's been great.